Welcome to Journeys and Journals. 100 years, well, we've got that much history. But even more important than talking 100 years with Olive today is 65 years of marriage. Please meet the Watsons. Olive, welcome back to Better Life Television.
Thank you.
And Bill, well, let's look at you at 65 years after the wedding. Or should we look at you right at the wedding? You are a sailor boy?
Sailor boy.
Sailor where?
Where? All over the Pacific, many times over.
And how many years were you sailing?
A little over about 2.5 years during the war.
The big war?
The big one, World War II.
And were you married to Olive then?
During that time we got married, yes.
No wonder you're in your uniform. Olive, where did you stay while he was off traveling?
Well, I was nursing in Kelso, Washington. And we decided, well, to get married. And so I came down to Long Beach and stayed in a little hotel while we were confirming that our permission to get married.
Well, you had to get permission.
Well, yes. You have to get
some
kind
of days of waiting.
Aha. Well, now, this is your anniversary 5 years ago, right? You're in...
Yes.
Yes, we were in Hawaii. We have a daughter there. And so we thought it would be nice to go for our anniversary.
I agree with you. You know, it's nice to be with family, and you've done that 65 years. Did you think when you asked her to marry you?
What did I think?
Yeah, that it was going to be a life of...
I never thought that far in the future. I was just thinking of the
one day
present. Right.
That one day you'd have gray hair and...
I never thought I'd get this old.
You know, when I met Bill, he was only 21.
Oh.
And I was 29, so romance was not considered. He was a friend of my brother's. So we just became friends, and 6 years later we got married.
It's nice to marry a friend, isn't it?
Yes, it is. We've been friends ever since.
Now, I've got pictures of you on the steps of the courthouse.
No, that's the Paulson Hall, the church where we were married.
Oh, you had a church wedding.
Oh, yes.
Oh, proper
Well,
sort of.
It was a huge church with a large pipe organ going all the way up. And there was 4 of us.
Oh, those big weddings and little weddings last well.
Well, you know, Arthur Beets, we were going to be married in his office. And he said, oh, you look too nice. Let's get married in the church.
Oh, good.
So he took us over to the church.
Wonderful. Now, this is when?
Well, that was
1944.
when we were living in Cave Junction.
Okay, that's...
No, that is, what does it say on the back? I can't remember.
Olive has a little problem. She is legally blind. Olive is also a bicycler and has been riding her bike until recently. Now she has a tandem bike, or what, a 3-wheeler?
Yeah.
But now,
I have it's a little battery-powered, they call it a scooter.
Okay.
And it has 3 wheels. And it's not a very safe thing. You should have 4 wheels. I've had 2 falls.
Oh. They picked you up?
One, I was chasing the dogs, and I took a U-turn. And you don't do that with a 3-wheeler.
Now, Bill, you aren't on the wheel. You don't have a 3-wheeler or a 4. You have a 4-wheeler. What's your story? You're driving.
I have a 4-wheel automobile.
Yeah, and who do you drive for?
Well, I'm volunteered to do what we used to call Meals on Wheels, which now is Food and Friends, but it's the same thing. We deliver meals to shut-ins and people who are incapacitated or can't you know, take care of.
And you volunteer at Better Life TV, but why don't you introduce us to the gal next to you? And
Yes, I'd like you to meet Ms. Jane Wholey, and she's with the Food and Friends, and she's one of the promoters.
Jane, where do you work?
I work with Food and Friends, the Meals on Wheels organization for both Jackson and Josephine counties.
And how it involves?
We are a very large 15-meal site Food and Friends program where we package, seal, and deliver meals to homebound seniors in both counties.
Now, Jane was so kind as to invite me to lunch, and it didn't look exactly like this, but I went to the lunch site, and that was in
Grants Pass.
Why does this come sealed and all this in little containers? This is what you two do, right?
The
We
food,
deliver them.
this is empty, of course, but they put food in here. And then the little container contains the dessert and the salad. They have 2 of them.
And what do you do with this?
Well, I delivered until I was 97. And that's when I fell off my street bike and broke my leg. So I just now go with him to keep him company.
Well, and before that, what was this blood pressure thing you were doing?
Oh, that was SHAPE.
Oh,
That was senior health. I can't remember the last 2. And I took the blood pressures, and I did that for a year or 2, 2 years, I guess. And then when I lost my driver's license, I had to quit it. So I went one day with Bill, and the lady who was in charge of the drivers said, "Oh, why don't you come with him? We'd love to have you." So I started going with him, and I did the delivering because I can't drive because of my eyes.
you noticed how close she got to the picture when I was showing. Now, how about these 2 people?
Aren't they amazing? They've been volunteering in this area for over 30 years, and they've been volunteering to deliver Meals on Wheels for the last 16. Most of the people we're taking food to can be 15 to 20 years younger than them, and some close to their ages, as Wesley over there.
Oh, tell me about Wesley.
I didn't know Wesley personally, but he was one of our meal recipients, and every time we would take a meal to him, that's how happy he was, because our program delivers not just meals to people who are homebound. We deliver it with a very caring volunteer who's willing to take a little time and sit and visit with seniors who might otherwise not see anyone all day. So we're kind of the friends part of the Food and Friends. And we're also a safety check for seniors who are
What about this
isolated.
safety check?
Well, sometimes if a senior should have a fall or need emergency care, our volunteers have gotten there just in the nick of time to hook them up to emergency services. And thankfully that doesn't happen too terribly often, but it happens on a regular basis.
Now, Bill, have you milled up friendships with some of these?
Oh, yes. And then if we don't show up, they'll ask, what happened? Why isn't so-and-so here?
Well, put on your badge and let's make this official here. Food and Friends, Olive is a volunteer.
One of my favorite people is Zeke, who you have a picture of behind you.
Oh, hi, Zeke.
Zeke is a 87-year-old World War II veteran who lives alone and who very much appreciates getting meals from us. Zeke says, if it weren't for you guys and my can opener, I wouldn't eat enough. So he's really grateful for the meals we bring to him.
What are the options here? If, let's say, nobody donated time and nobody cared, what would happen to these people?
That's a very good question, and I'm here to tell you a lot of people would be in a world of hurt without our program. Many don't have, like Zeke, for example, his 2 grown sons live out of the area, and he has no family nearby. So he's very dependent on our service.
Now, you've brought a little handout here for me. What is this going to tell us?
It tells you the number of meals that we serve in the 2-county region.
That means people like Bill and Olive who go to the homes. That's included in what?
Yes, we have over 300 caring volunteers who help us deliver. This year it'll be over 245,000 meals to seniors in the two-county region.
And some of these are at senior centers?
Yes.
That's the
Congregate meal sites. We have some of our meal sites serve as places for seniors to gather and have some social time.
like where you and I had
Yes,
lunch
exactly.
out by the fairgrounds in Grants Pass. But what other communities would have that?
Talent, Ashland, Medford, Phoenix, Wolf Creek, Cave Junction, Grants Pass.
You really include the whole county.
The two-county region is pretty well covered by our program.
How did you get involved in this?
Well, they were looking for someone to help them do development work, which is promoting the program in the community and also to do fundraising. Our program is dependent on community support. So
This isn't a government?
It's partly government funded, but we also rely heavily on community donations. So that is my role, is to help raise awareness, let the community know we need volunteers to help us do this work. We get over 56,000 hours donated by volunteers annually, which help us keep our costs down. We couldn't do what we do without our volunteers, like Bill and Olive.
Bill, do you drive your own rig?
Yes.
And you come with a bag full of,
Quite a box full.
by the box.
No,
So they'll
just
tell you,
in
you're going to the same home with this meal.
Yes, that's a typical meal.
And do you drive this van?
No, we don't use that for delivery. That's part of the bringing the meals over to us.
From
The meals come from Medford.
Oh, that's where the major kitchen
And
is.
then you
And then
have
it's already, they rewarm it, then they serve it.
Right. Here's the
That's-
boxes. I was going to say ice
That's loading.
boxes. They're something.
They're actually coolers, and we keep hot food in the coolers as well, in the hot coolers, and we keep cold food in the cold coolers.
Now, on the weekend, they don't deliver, so they take them frozen meals.
on Thursday and Friday.
And they're in a paper sack, just one of these, put it marked.
You mean this
They-
plus two little things?
They put them in a, yes, and then they warm it up. The people that get it warm it up.
You must have some stories about these recipients and their excitement.
Yes, as a matter of fact,
Friendships.
we took another TV crew on a ride along with Bill and Olive, and everywhere they went, they were hugged and greeted and had a conversation. And the meal recipients are very grateful, not just for the food, but for the company. And when we volunteer for a long period of time, we form close bonds with our meal recipients.
Now, do these people who know, do they know that Bill's not a healthy guy right now?
I don't
Or is
know.
that, have you
That's
kept that
one-
a secret?
Well,
he-
no, they tell them
He took a
they
week
check
off.
on the progress.
Oh, Bill, you took a week off because you were fighting cancer, right?
Yeah.
But he's back on it this week.
Oh, okay. You can't keep
I
this.
finish up next week. And
You
all through.
can't keep this guy down. You can't keep these. Bill and Olive, you had kids. Let's talk about your kids. A girl and a boy?
We went back to college, and I got my PhD pushing husband through. And then I got an associate degree along with it. And then when we got through, Bill said, well, now if you want to get your degree, they gave me 2 years for my nursing. If you want to get your degree, I'll put you through. And I said, what about kids? And so we decided, since we weren't producing, we would adopt. So I flew back to Washington, D.C. and picked up Judy. And Kenny was born at our local hospital, which is called the Portland Adventist Hospital now. It was Portland San. And Judy was 3 days old when I got her, and Kenny was 10 days old, but he was still in the hospital because there were 3 people that were on the list
To adopt.
to adopt. And we thought we weren't going to get him, but Bill came home one day and he said, I said, "What are you doing home?" We just saw you off to work. And he said, "Well, I got fired," with a smile on his face. And I knew that was pulling my leg, so I said, "What really happened?" "Oh," he said, I just forgot. We have to go over and pick up a little boy." So then we got Kenny. And I said, "Well, what do we do with Judy?" "Well," he said, "we'll take her with us." So we dressed her all up real fancy. And of course she couldn't go in. So we waited, and I said to Bill, "I saw Judy first. Now you can see Kenny." So when Bill came back, he said,
A1. Now, what do you think of their story?
I love their story. It's just been such a treat to get to know them. And I've been lucky enough to get to spend a fair amount of time with you two. And I'm uplifted by them every time I spend time with them.
So you now know why Bill and Olive wanted me to meet you and say, "Come," because you're kind of like family here.
I love them like family.
What's it called? Food and Friends?
Mm-hmm.
Food and Friends. I don't know if you'd known about Olive. This is your family?
Yes.
"Yes, all but one. One hadn't come yet."
Oh my goodness, Mom. Ugh. And
There was 9 children.
And Bill, you come from a family of,
There are 5 kids in our family.
oh my goodness, that means you got lots of
There's 2
nieces
of
and
us left.
nephews too. These are who?
That's me in the little, with a little doll. And my sister, she was 2 years older than I. Her name is Thelma.
Oh, and the parasol here. You were duded up just
Oh,
real
we were
cute.
showing off.
Where were you a little kid? Let's find out about your beginnings.
Western Pennsylvania, and I'm from a family of 6 children, all girls.
Ah, and how did you get involved in, Chicago?
Meals on Wheels. Well, when I was a little girl, my mom was a Meals on Wheels volunteer, and I remember that she modeled and had a value system of helping people in the community. And I remember when I was young being very impressed with that because she walked her talk.
So you're saying when I grow up, I want to be like
I want to
Mom?
help people like my mother did. And now I get to. It's a joy.
How can people know more about your organization?
They can visit our website, www.rvcog.org. They can look up
That stands for?
Rogue Valley Council of Governments. That's the entity under which Food and Friends operates.
Now, is that how you happen to know our previous guest?
Yes.
Tell me.
Grace Imori serves on the Senior Advisory Council, which is a community volunteer board that comes together to review issues of programs like Food and Friends and other programs serving seniors, and they have a chance to have community input.
Well, you know, just getting acquainted with Grace, she's been with the National Communicable Disease, you know, I mean, these are people retiring here in Southern Oregon that are bringing to our nation an incredible wealth.
Of
and
talent.
now they're blessing our community in their retirement, because she came here to care for her mother and father. And this ties in with, because you'd be in Jacksonville delivering food if there wasn't a Gracie Mori taking care of her own parents.
Exactly. And like I said, there are many people whose children don't live in the area, and that makes them really needing our program.
So would you like people to call, or not everybody has online access, so where can they get one of these brochures, or how would they connect with you personally? And
They could call our number, which is area code 541-664-6674, to either volunteer, become meal recipients, or to just learn more about the program.
because this is the way your meals are set up, right?
Yes, that's one of our kitchens where they prepare the packages.
And how is it that people like me can go there and eat?
People who are over 60 are welcome to our congregate meal sites to come and visit and have a lunch together with us.
And the price is reasonable?
It's very reasonable. It's under $5. It's a wonderful meal, a hot meal, and it's a place for social time and social gathering.
Just happened to bring a few things to donate to your cause. Why don't you mention what this is all about? Why magazines?
I don't.
As you come into this place out at the fairgrounds, your meal site, you have books and magazines and things that...
We try and provide things for people to talk about and read and discuss with each other, and to just feed the social atmosphere of the location.
And where do the magazines come from?
I think mostly they come from volunteers who bring them in to share.
And one of the things that I've noticed, if you happen to have a street address and you don't want it be made public, they just cover it up with a
label.
With a label. But mine happens to be a post office box, so it doesn't matter. But when they saw this ham radio magazine, one woman said, "I'm not interested in ham radio." And I said, "No, but I bet there are people here who that is their hobby." What kinds of volunteer people? Your mother worked for how many years with the organization?
She worked for about 5 years delivering Meals on Wheels in our town.
And now you've been with Meals on Wheels how long?
About a little over a year and a half.
Do you think it'll last?
Yes, definitely. We're so vitally needed and such a good organization, and we do have support from community members like Olive and Bill and our hundreds of other volunteers.
Let's say there had maybe some food special needs.
Glad you asked that question. We make diabetic and low salt meals for people who have those conditions or need that kind of a meal, which is really wonderful. We aren't quite at the place where we're able to make vegetarian meals, but we do accommodate diabetic low salt meals.
And if the meal happens to be, let's say, pork, and that's not on their diet,
all meal recipients can designate what their preferences are. For example, that's a great example. If someone doesn't eat pork or someone doesn't eat some of the other main entrees we offer, they call our office and let us know, and we keep it on the delivery route sheet. And then we give them a meal substitute that day.
So have you folks eaten some of these meals?
Some of them, yes.
Yes.
I mean, these are, I can imagine having a stack of these around. They seem to be using recycled material. This is not plastic.
No, and they're microwavable, which is the important thing. They can be microwaved, as opposed to the foil containers, which have to be heated in an oven.
Which reminds me, my friend was in a senior residence. She couldn't seem to remember to turn off the stove, and so had some, things burn. And her family got this bright idea. If only we have a microwave and we disconnect the stove,
No
piece
problem.
of cake. Bill, tell me, why be a volunteer? Why do you wear this badge so proudly?
Well, I feel that my country's been good to me, and I want to do something back again. So when I retired, I just couldn't sit around and do nothing. So when I found out about Meals on Wheels, I went down and volunteered about 15, 16 years ago.
And you are what age, Bill?
I'm 91.
Driving, talking, running these cameras. I've seen Bill doing all kinds of jobs. Now, Olive, I've seen you on your bike back in the olden days.
Well, yes.
People marveled at here she'd come.
The reason I did that was because the cartilage in my knees got thin. And I said to Bill, I can't walk anymore. Let's get the bikes out. So we got the bikes out, and I was biking for over 10 years.
Oh, no wonder you were 100. And 3 months, married 65 years, and beautiful. They still love one another. You can see it. Why don't you tell me about Bill and Olive?
What mostly impressed me about Bill and Olive, and I met Olive first, was the bright intelligence in her eyes. And when I met her, I said, Olive, what's your secret to healthy longevity? And she said, it's new start. And I said, what's that? She said, nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, temperance, moderation in all things, air, rest, and thankfulness, having an attitude of gratitude about all things.
Isn't that, I think I've heard of New Start. That's a program you're involved in?
I was going to do it this year, but I had another fall.
Oh, we've got to keep you healthy.
Well,
Bill, I just marvel at the two of you, and I am so glad you brought your friend so I could get acquainted and learn a little more about the meal sites, go with you to have that dinner. Since I'm 70 years old, it's fitting and proper for me to go there and buy a dinner. Thank you so much for being my guest. Keep smiling. We love you.
we will.
And to your health, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming all the way from
Medford, thank you for having me. It's been a treat.
I'm Bernie Martin Beck saying thanks for tuning in, and there's never a time that you're too old to volunteer.